So today we'll be interviewing Archimedes, also known as
Right.
King of debating, also known
No,
Oh
as
you're
my
right the
god.
first time.
also known as Japanese. So Archimedes, can you introduce yourself? What made you get into debating?
Extortion.
I'd say what made me get into debating probably was just the idea that I realized there were
Extortion.
so many like stupid people like on the app,
That's
and that
ironic.
like they fall for like the silliest arguments,
That's
including like
ironic.
most of like your favorite high tiers. So I was like, if
That's
I could
ironic.
just like be like manipulative to like high tiers and shit like that, then I'd be like manipulative to like audiences and stuff, and it'd like speed run me to like being high tier, which it evident did. So
Archie high
that's what
tiers.
made me
I
get
tried
into
to
it.
lose it, bro. Mum's life.
Okay, so Archie, what app did you first debate on before you came into Scapia? Oh, you came into Discord, I should say.
Grinder.
What? Wait.
No, no, he debated in court, bro, when he was debating extortion things.
No, I'm actually trying.
Grinder type shit.
I'm
Yeah.
actually trying to interview the guy, bro. Okay.
No one wants to hear this shit, though. Can you guys mute down or something?
That's okay. I'll mute you. Go.
Okay. So, what app did you debate on before you go onto Discord? Did you come from TikTok or
I came from Instagram.
from Instagram? Oh, okay. Were there any particular Instagram pages which made you want to go and
Yeah, I was friends with Sean
with who?
Page in 2019, and he invited me to Froxy server, which is one of the oldest, I think like the oldest Naruto servers that people were really debating in like the old com.
Okay.
Besides like maybe Tokyo and like older ones. So
How would you say your debate career has gone? Do you think you've accomplished everything you need to as a debater?
oh yeah, I think I've had the longest run out of like the OGs, at least being like a consistent high tier and like consistently being active and showing up in like different generations of debating.
Okay. Would you say there's any particular reason for like, let's say, certain people or a very, very wide group of people seem to dislike you, even from the old gen? For example, Aeroflame.
Extortion.
Do you think there's a very specific
Extortion.
reason as to why that is the case?
Extortion.
They hate greatness. That's really it.
Extortion. We hate extortion.
Okay,
Oh,
so
so you hate Maya and Yanni? That's very rude to say.
And
when you're best friends.
Yachty.
okay, so to be clear, what would you say is your best verse or best topic if you had to say?
I'd probably say crossers in like a fictional sense. And as far as philosophy goes, or any topic that people encompass within what they call IRL, I mean, I can really defend any proposition, so I wouldn't say anything's my best.
Okay, what would you say to us people who think that only a specific topic or a certain set of topics that they are good in that and they aren't good in any other topics? Would you say that they are a good debater? Would you say that they should be considered as great?
I think it's the way that they can manage and dominate the specific area. We have people such as like Six Paths, who was like predominantly known in the Naruto community, and that was enough to get him like as a high tier. But we noticed like when he actually debated topics outside of that, we noticed his rhetoric dropped, and we understood in like different rhetorical situations to where he wasn't at such an advantage from his knowledge. It seems that like he performed so terribly, right? Even though realistically it wasn't even that terrible. It's just the fact that he wasn't debating Naruto and he didn't have the same audience and fans of his. So I think debating topics outside of like your own comfortability would definitely make you a better debater. I wouldn't consider anyone necessarily to be super good just by debating one topic, just because there's like too many like outliers that happens when you're not debating that specific.
Okay. Would you say that you value knowledge, argumentation, or the ability to be, let's say, dishonest in debates more to win? Would you say that in terms of
Dishonest.
what makes a good debater, do you think dishonesty matters more or just raw argumentation?
Well, I don't think you necessarily have to be dishonest. I think persuasiveness matters more. But if you're asking me just specifically what matters, dishonesty or argumentation, I think if you can manage to be more dishonest in a debate, I think you're going to win a debate more.
Would you
If you can manage to be dishonest in a productive way and in a convincing way.
Would you consider them to be a better debater if they're only one off of dishonesty and every point they got into that wasn't dishonest, they lost, would you say they're a better debater?
If they persuaded the audience, then yes, I'd say so.
So you'd say you value rhetoric more than actual substance?
I think in a discussion like sense, then I'd value probably the person's thoughts and opinions more. But in a debate sense, to where we're going to be in rhetorical situations, and the purpose of this isn't necessarily just to reach a truth, which is an important part of it, but to reach a persuasive truth that may not always be agreed upon in a consensus. But if you manage to convince the consensus of this, I think that would make you the better debater. So I do value that more than I would like knowledge, at least in a debate sense.
Okay. Would you say that you're more of a fan of blood sports types of debating, where you are just trying to convince everyone else, rather than more truth-seeking types of discourse in which you're able to reach a better conclusion? And would you say that truth-seeking like breeds worse debaters compared to blood sports types of debating?
I mean, you said blood, so I'll pick that one.
Oh, okay,
All
okay.
right, so
Okay, okay. That makes perfect sense. It seems to be very consistent. Um
yep.
Yeah.
uh what else? What else? So would do you have anyone who you would like to debate and who you think would be better than you at the current moment?
I don't think anyone's better than me at the current moment. Someone I'd like to debate.
Uh-huh.
I'd say Mason.
Hmm.
He actually seems like a pretty fun guy to debate. So
Do you think you would win in a debate against Mason?
yeah, I think it depends on the topic. But of course, it's just who could be more convincing. So we just have to see.
Okay. Would you say that yeah, in a debate with Mason, in what would it take for Mason to do to convince you that you lost?
Um, I'd say defeat my argument.
Hmm. So would you not say that convincing the audience would make him would make you in your own mind think that he won?
Well, like if he defeats my argument in a sense to where he convinces the audience that my argument is incorrect, right? That he's just more persuasive, that he absolutely dominated me in this rhetorical situation, and I have no way of coming back, I'd say I'd lost.
Okay, so you'd say that rather than a direct address, you'd say that if he responded in a way that even if it was inadequate upon re-listening, but convinced all of the audience that he won, you'd say that would be sufficient to say you lost. To be clear.
If it convinced the consensus, I think the consensus also matters along with the current audience,
Do you think
because of
that?
course the
Go ahead.
consensus can change upon like further investigation.
Do you think that you value an incompetent judge who was agreed upon over a more competent party who was like never agreed upon by either side?
I think that I value both in like distinct like senses. Like I value a judge based on who won the debate, at least in a sense to where we have a third party view and a verdict.
Uh-huh.
And I value the consensus in the sense to where they may be able to make some critiques of the judgment and critiques about each individual debater's idea. Because the important thing about it is also consensus. Of course, and more intellectual consensus would definitely be something that's more desired.
Who would you say has been the toughest debate you've had upon coming to or throughout your entire time debating on Discord?
Against Conway.
Cameron. Okay, okay, okay. I remember Cameron. Why would you say that he would was your toughest debate per se?
Honestly, there's nothing more that I can say other than he's just a rhetorical unit, you know?
So would you say that his loss to Aeroflame did that reduce his your opinion of him?
I think that if you want my honest opinion on that debate, I don't think he personally lost.
Oh, okay.
But I can understand why certain people would think so, at least of that time at the moment.
Okay. So how good would you say your toughest opponent, Kamui, would be in comparison to the current community? Do you think he'd be up there with Mason, or do you think he'd be a relative mid tier?
If he kept debating,
Uh-huh.
I mean, I think he'd be no different than me, Jester, Infinity, and the current high tiers of the community. But I think that if he just randomly came back, Yeah, I think he'd be maybe like a mid to high tier,
Okay,
just
okay,
randomly
okay.
coming back.
Who would you say is the best new gen debater in your mind? Or like who is the most underrated new gen debater in your mind? You can answer both questions.
I'd say Shiki.
You'd okay. You'd say Shiki is the most underrated new gen debater.
Yeah.
Who would you say is the best new gen debater if you had to give a top five list?
Um. mm, Best new gen.
Uh-huh.
Like. Uh.
Oh, get him, Archi.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what do you consider new gen? I'd have to ask that.
Um, let's say new gen is like after what's it called? What's the name stuff like? Avro's friend. What's his name? I forgot his name. Before Astroworld, let's say. Before Astroworld up until now.
Oh, okay, okay. If that's what you consider new gen from like just within the year, I'd probably say C.
You'd say you did who?
C.
Okay, you'd say she's the best new gen. Okay, okay. That makes
Yeah.
that makes sense. That makes sense. Good choice, good choice. Um Overall, do you think there is the best do you think there's a specific best inverse debater that you've encountered? Who would you say it is within the new gen community?
Within the new gen community, who do I think is the best inverse debater?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I wouldn't say any one like specifically like catches my interest.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Okay. So that wraps it up for the interview. I There's nothing else I have to say. Uh.